go. That ought to just about do it. That's the final touch. Hi, I'm Jeff Shade, and welcome to the original Classic Car Restoration TV show, Classic Car Garage. Well, we finally got the engine here in the old 47 Rolls-Royce. Glad we got that done. You know, these are hand-built cars, kind of complicated, but I think that's one of the things that really makes them quite beautiful. Glad our 56 Chevy Sedan delivery is not that complex. As I said on today's show, we're going to be dropping the engine and transmission into the chassis of our project car. We're also going to give you some tips on adjusting doors. And as you recall, our Chevy is a two-tone car. The roof is white and the body is red. Sometimes not the easiest thing to do to get that line between the two-tone paint job, but Tom Horvath, of course, is the master, as you know, and he's in the paint booth right now. What do you say we go get some tips from him? Hey Tom, how you doing?
Great, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good to see you again too. Well, it looks like you've got the car all taped off here, and we're just about ready to paint the bottom part of the car red, right?
Yep. Just doing the last minute adjustments on the door to make sure the door lines up so your body lines where we're going to separate the two colors looks perfect.
And that's a good point, because I thought we were going to be able to paint the bottom part of the car red and then do the door adjusting, but indeed that's not the way that we want to do this, right?
Remember on the Mustang we did the doors off the car and then came back on because we were talking about a solid color, but on a two-tone you want to make sure that the doors are in the exact position of where they're going to lay when you get done painting the car. So right now we're just adjusting the doors to put the final adjustment just to make sure that little V-point and the V-point on the door are just lined up perfectly.
Right, because if you painted this bottom part red and then painted the bottom part red on the outside of the door, when you put them on there, chances are that this line is not going to line up with the line on the door.
That's right.
And of course that would be a big problem because we want this car to go around and win as many shows as possible.
That's right.
All right, let's get into what's involved with adjusting a door here. It's really quite simple. It's kind of like it was in the Mustang, right?
That's right. We've got a little bit of problem with the door right now, and I'll show you when we close the door. The gap up here is just a little wide, so I loosen this top hinge. Now what this is going to do is this hinge right here adjust in and out on the doors. Both of these plates adjust the door in and out away from the hole opening. These hinge plates right here on the door adjust the door forward and back. So our gap looks really good, so that means that these hinges are good. But right now we've got a little bit of a gap here, so we're going to move the door in, but I'll show you once we close this door. Okay, we're going to loosen up these two Phillips bolts right here. And then if you could, Jeff, just lift up on the door and you'll actually see the hinge plate move. There you go.
There it is.
So we moved it about 1/8 of an inch. Tighten these up nicely right there. Okay.
All right, that ought to do it. Let's check this door, Tom. I think we're right where we want to be. Looks good.
Yeah, you can see we've brought the door in a little bit to the quarter panel now, and it looks real good back here.
And now it's flush, whereas before this door was sticking out a little bit.
That's right. And look at the line. The line looks really nice.
Yeah, the line here matches up perfectly.
Right.
And the gap here looks good too.
All the way around.
Let's take a look at the gap here in the front. This is a place where you see a lot of cars have a lot of problems, but this gap is nice and tight, isn't it?
We've got this in there nice and tight now, so we're not going to have any problems with the fender once we get onto that. And this is critical on these cars.
And of course this up here lines up as well too.
That's right.
And of course the fenders are adjustable as well too, right?
Yes. You've got a top bolt and a bottom bolt, and that'll give us our forward and back and in and out adjustments that we need, just like the door.
And that's the problem a lot of times when you see cars that have all the paint chipped off here. It's either a problem with the adjustment of the door or the fenders. I think a lot of times it's more so the fenders than anything else.
That's right.
So all in all, the gaps look really good, but how is it going to affect things when the glass and the regulator's put back in here, because that's got to weigh another 30, 40 pounds.
That's right. We're going to add some substantial weight to this car once we put the window regulator and the glass back into this door. But just mounting the body onto the chassis is going to contort this body a little bit. So once we do that, then the body's going to take a set and the doors are going to settle a little bit because of the chassis and how you're bolting it down to the chassis. Then you load the doors with all the hardware and stuff, and then we'll readjust the doors for the last time to put them in this exact same position that we're in now.
And of course everything's going to look perfect again.
That's
too.
right.
And that is the difference in a prize-winning job like this
That's right.
and going the cheap route. So now when our folks go out to the car shows and take a look at cars, they'll have the information that they need to know how the car was actually done. All right, thanks, Tom. So we're getting set now to paint the bottom of the car.
That's right.
And we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. When we come back here on Classic Car Garage, Jim Richardson stops by with his resto tip. Stay tuned. The time has finally come here to drop the engine back down on the chassis. And Tom, really this is pretty straightforward. The first thing, of course, is safety, and that begins with the hoist that we've got here. What's this one rated at?
This is a 2,000-pound hoist.
And that's very important that you have at least a 2,000-pound hoist here, because of course an engine and a transmission is extremely heavy, and I'd rather have a hoist that is capable of lifting more than it's required to. Of course, otherwise here we have an engine lift plate. This is a very important component too, and a good chain here as well, and of course just common safety as well too. Don't get your fingers in these chain links, of course, and don't get your fingers between the engine and the chassis. That's just common sense. So Tom, tell us a little bit about the engine here, the way that you painted this. You actually painted this together, didn't you?
What we're trying to duplicate is a restoration here. So the factory painted these motors completely assembled.
Right.
This motor obviously was rebuilt, and we ended up putting the valve covers, the intake manifold all together, and then painting all the bolt heads and everything exactly the same time. So there's no marring of the paint, and this is called paint locking.
And of course, originality is the key here too, in a restoration, preservation of the original. And it looks just like it did when it came out of the factory.
And then that Spieshecker paint nice and shiny.
It really looks great too. This is going to, I'm sure this is going to win some awards. So what do you say we try to lift this down, or actually lower it down onto the chassis?
All right, it's a pretty simple process.
Let's guide it over into place here. And the first thing is, of course,
looks like we're pretty good up here. How you doing back there?
I'm right over the mounts basically.
All right. And it's just basically coming straight down on top of the 4 points.
Just very
and then
slowly.
Putting the 6 bolts in.
This is pretty simple. I've got 4 back here, and you've got 2 up front.
Yes.
Okay. I've got hold of the tail shaft here.
Okay, I need to come back a little bit to you.
Right.
Okay, make sure your fingers are out of the way there.
Absolutely. Those went in pretty easily.
Okay, I'm good here on one of them.
Need to come back my way just a little tiny bit.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Are you good?
We're good. Just going to finger tighten these nuts on here.
Let me come down there. Okay. I'm
to the
set.
other side, and we're all set.
Put my little rubber snubbers up.
And there we are. How's your end?
Great. One more nut. We're in.
And that's all there is to it. It's that simple. And then, of course, we'll take the lift off the engine here, get set to install the drive shaft, and Tom, we're just about ready to drop the body back onto the car now.
Yep.
All right, Tom. Well, now that we've got the engine and the chassis and the doors adjusted, I guess finally we're ready to do the stripe here, to do the two-tone break in the paint, right?
That's right.
Now, what's the first thing that you're doing here? Are you actually going to be making the line for the two-tone with his masking tape?
That's right. We can see, because this is white, it's hard to see the definition between the ridge there. So I'm actually putting down a guideline that will guide me to put the fine line tape right into the edge.
Okay, so you're not actually going to use masking tape to make that line, but rather fine line tape,
Actually,
which is this.
This is the fine line tape. We call it fine line. 3M calls it plastic tape. And it's a blue, very thin blue plastic tape.
And the difference between this tape and this tape?
Is the thickness.
Is the thickness.
Yep, and you'll actually see the edges, if you were to blow this up, these edges, even though they look straight, they're kind of jagged.
Right.
And these edges are razor cut.
Are completely straight.
Yep.
So if you use this, you may get little jagged lines
for
for
sure.
your line versus this where you're going to get straight edges.
That's right.
And of course, that's what we're after. So the first thing that you want to do now, the actual break in the paint is going to be on this little raised part here, right?
That's right, right in the center of that. So what I'm doing now is just putting the guideline down, then I'll put the blue tape right up against that masking tape.
Okay, so the break is actually going to be in the middle of the masking tape and this raised line here.
And then I can see real well, this tape bends real well, so I can see real well what this looks like once I lay this out.
Okay, so let's go ahead and continue to lay this on there. And the key here is not to really pull the tape really tight, right?
No, you don't want to pull it because it'll kind of weirds out the tape. And you can see it's hard to see that white line. And even if you don't get this quite perfect, don't worry about it because, you know, obviously we're going to throw this tape away. The blue line is really important. So once we get this laid out, and it goes pretty fast once you get started. Just lay it down inside that ridge there. There you go.
Okay, so you've got this part of it taped down. Obviously, you want to go around the entire car and do that as well. Now, the fine line tape comes into play here.
Right, so you've got that little Scotch tab there. And then we're going to lay this down inch by inch. Again, not pulling on this tape because this tape will flex back. And you don't want to put this tape down until you're ready to paint. So after we put this down, we're going to go right to paint. And you can see we've got the whole top of the vehicle completely masked off.
So don't try to tape this off, then go to sleep for the night, come back the next morning and try to paint it because...
No way. It'll shrink and then the line will get messed up.
And the fine line tape is something that you can find, the Scotch fine line tape, pretty much in any auto paint store, right?
Any paint store would have it. Okay, there we go.
All right, now the fine line tape is on there. That's completely straight.
Yep.
Next thing is to pull this guide tape off. And there it is, and this is where that break is going to be now. And of course, it's going to be a nice solid line because of the fine line tape.
That's right.
So the next thing to do is to mix up the paint and paint it. But the question that I have is, do we want to pull this tape off right away as soon as it's painted, or should you wait a while till the paint completely dries?
Well, this is kind of a unique situation. Obviously, when they were doing two-tones back in the 50s, they didn't have the technology that we had. And with this technology, we can get things a lot more defined and clean. What we're going to do is we've already done the top in a base coat clear coat. We're going to do the bottom in a base coat clear coat using that real pretty red paint that we have. We're going to spray the base down, then we're going to spray the clear down. Now, we're going to have a little bit of mill build you know, right up against that edge. So about 20, 30 minutes after we're done painting, we're going to peel that edge up so as the paint does its last bit of flowing, it rounds off that edge. So
you're going to have a bit of a high place there. You're going to have sort of a hard edge.
Yes.
That if you wait 20 or 30 minutes and pull this off, then it's all sort of going to flow together and meld, and that's where you're not going to get that hard line.
That's right. It'll be just a little bit softer.
Okay, well, great. Let's get to painting now.
All right, great.
While Tom paints the red on our 56 Chevy Sedan delivery, we'll take a short time out. We'll be right back with more on Classic Car Garage after these words. Welcome back to Classic Car Garage. Before we go today, I've got a couple of new products I want to show you. I think you'll really like this one. How many times have you had a little dent like the one I've got right here on my truck? It's not big enough really to do body work on that needs to be painted, but you still want to take it out. Well, right here's your answer. You can do it yourself with a Dent Out Paintless Dent Repair Kit. And it's easy. Let me show you how it works. All you do is take one of these applicator tips like this. Put a little hot glue on it with the hot glue gun that they furnish and the glue sticks. Put a nice bead on there like that. Then place this right over the dent and just hold it there. You need to hold it on there about 15 seconds and then wait for it to harden about 3 minutes. All right, now that's been on there for about 3 minutes. All you do is take this crossbar, which is one of about 3 that is furnished with the kit, and attach this little wing nut to that stud. Spin it on there and then just twist it. And as you twist it, it pulls that little stud out. And with that stud being pulled out comes the dent. You just keep pulling until it pulls the dent out and the stud pops off there. And then in order to remove the glue, you just use this adhesive remover, which is furnished with the kit, and that little piece of glue right there will come right off. Just take it and peel it. There we go. And that's all there is to it. Now we've improved that dent 100%. It'll take a couple of more pulls to get it out of there, but you can do it. Now this is the Pro Dent Removal Kit right here from Dent Out, which sells for about $295. Or they have a consumer version like this one that everyone should have in their garage for a bit less as well too. Simply go to dentout.com. Now come on inside because I've got another new product I want to show you. Well, if you're a car nut like the rest of us, making your garage floor look great is a #1 priority, and I've got the answer for you right here. It's Muscle Gloss from our buddy Dave Chernow at Motor City Flooring in Detroit, Michigan. What this is an epoxy floor paint that's unlike any other that I've ever seen. This is so easy to put down. It comes with everything you need in the kit, including the cleaner here and the etch for the concrete, to the resin base, to the gloss activator. And what I really like about it are these Muscle Fleck decorative chips. They're also an anti-slip agent as well too. Now these are the black, white, and blue ones, which of course going to make our floor look great, but beyond that it sort of acts as an anti-slip agent as well too, so you don't slip and fall down out there in your garage. Now the thing about this that's really great is that now you can spill brake fluid, oil, anything you want on the floor, and it wipes right up. It's that durable. Once again, it's Muscle Gloss from Motor City Flooring in Detroit, Michigan. We're going to be putting this down on our garage floor. I know it's going to make yours look great too. Well, that's just about all the time we have for you on today's Classic Car Garage. We hope you've enjoyed our show. And as always, if you want to know anything about anything you've seen on our show, simply log on to our website. It's all right there. For Tom and Jim, I'm Jeff Shade. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week right here on Classic Car Garage.